And welcome in, everybody. Episode one. Here we are. Episode one of the Case by Case Sports Show. Again, you could say my name is Jeremy Case. We're here to cover all things Broncos, Avs, Nuggets, and sadly for the time being, the Colorado Rockies. All things Colorado sports. We're going to cover them all top to bottom, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to do it with you. I'm your host, Jeremy Case, here with you. Let's jump into a little bit of background before we get into what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to spend, a good amount of time talking about Nuggets, Avs, Broncos, Rockies. Maybe not so much of the Rockies until the season really gets going. I'll address them today just to kind of give my overall thoughts about what has happened and what is kind of happening at the point in time with the Rockies as well. But unless there's like really any significant news going forward, I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time covering them and just until the season picks up. It's going to be mostly concentrated on Broncos, Avs, and Nuggets since we're deep in the season on them to start it off. So a little bit of background with me. I was born and raised Denver, Colorado. Spent the first 25 years of my life. I am now 34, going to be 35. So I've been out of Colorado for about 10 years now. Currently settled in Oregon and just still a huge Colorado sports fan. Still a huge Colorado sports fan. Looking to get back there one day. Hopefully move back um, home here soon within probably the next 5 to 7 years, hopefully, to do that as well. So that's a little bit of me. I've been a huge Broncos fan, Nuggets fan, Avs fan, Rockies fan ever since. So that's kind of where it's at. So let's kick things off with the Denver Broncos. We're going to kick things off here, starting with the Broncos. They had the game on Sunday. Today is November 4th, Tuesday. They had the game Sunday against the Houston Texans. I guess it would be week 8 now. The NFL going into week 9, uh, which will be starting Thursday against the Raiders. We'll get to them in just a minute. But let's talk about the game Sunday versus the Houston Texans. I want to get into it. For the most part, I will say this: the Broncos so far this season have been a lot of ups and downs, and kind of the downs go within the ups. Really, quite honestly, I mean, it seems like once there's an up, a down comes right on the backside of it. Obviously, Bo Nix, here we are. Sean Payton's the head coach. Bo Nix is in his second year as the Broncos quarterback. Um, I feel like Bo Nix is kind of right at and maybe just a little bit above where he should be for the second year. I think everybody's a little bit too hard on Bo Nix. I think everybody expects. I was listening to Mosier Lombardi and Kane this morning on Altitude Sports Radio, and I kind of agree with Vic Lombardi. I agree with the fact that everybody wants to microwave this team and have them compete for a championship immediately. And I just don't think that's where the Broncos are at right now. I think right now they're in a place where they have a second year quarterback and he's he's kind of over his rookie woes, but he's still trying to figure out kind of his identity as a quarterback and a skill set as it goes forward. He's it's smoothing out a little bit and he's defining it, but there's still a little bit he needs to figure out. Mainly the deep ball, as we saw on Sunday. I mean, he hit a couple, but he missed a lot, overthrew and underthrew. I mean, second year, that's kind of what happens. I'm surprised he hit the ones that he did, honestly. But overall on Sunday, man, I just think it was kind of a sloppy game. Really, it was. The defense is amazing this year. I don't know what more you could really say about the defense other than it's really good. Even minus Patrick Surtain out with the injury, I thought the Broncos did really solidly on defense against the Texans. It was tough. This game. I don't think the Texans have been this tough for a while. Obviously, we did get the unfortunate break of having CJ Stroud get injured and leave the game, which left Davis Mills to come in and fill in for the Texans. and that kind of gave us an advantage that way. Don't want to necessarily vouch for anybody being hurt or injured, but hey, it happened that way and it broke that way for the Broncos, and the Broncos took full advantage of that on defense. The Texans' offense almost became one dimensional to the Broncos, or it seemed like they knew how to read it, you know, like a book. They read the playbook pretty well, and they were really solid on defense. The Broncos' offense, though, was a different story. I mean, two turnovers. Bo Nix, he really didn't. He really wasn't that great um, in this game. I mean, he's been kind of pedestrian all week. I mean, not all week, all season, and which is kind of expecting. And that's kind of where I want Bo Nix to be, quite honestly. I really do. I want him to be um, kind of pedestrian. I don't know why everybody's expecting. Everybody wants him to be this like the second coming of John Elway, but he went 18 for 37, 173 yards. Two touchdowns, one interception, in which he threw on a deep ball. And I don't really blame him on that interception. I kind of blame, I think he threw it to Cortland Sutton or whatever. And I kind of blame it on him not being necessarily open. And that's kind of where I want Bo Nix, though. I want him, my expectation for him is not most other Broncos fans, just because let's look at the past averages here from the Philadelphia game on: 242 passing yards, 174, 279, 247, and 279 was mostly that 33-point comeback against the Giants, and then the 247 was obviously against a really bad Dallas Cowboys defense. I mean, I in games like this, that's kind of what I expect out of Bo Nix. I don't expect her to be having Star Wars numbers, or I with this defense being so good that it is, I don't think you need Bo Nix to be a Star Wars quarterback. I think he just needs to be solid and play turnover free football, interception free football, and let him use his legs a little bit more too. I mean, he's got a really good speed. He runs in the 4.4s. He's a really great quarterback to run at speed with his legs, and I think most people underestimate that with Bo Nix, and I'd like to see that continue a little bit further, not so much to the detriment of the team or Bo Nix himself. I don't want him to get hurt or injured or anything. None of us want that, but just like the final couple plays of the fourth quarter against the Texans, where he just broke huge and ran almost 35 yards because he saw an open spot. I'd like to see him do that more. Couple of things I didn't like to see. There was a couple times where, it seemed like Bo would kind of just run from the pocket when there really was no reason to on a couple of those plays, and that kind of frustrated me a little bit with Bo Nix. And I'd like to see him do less of that, honestly. Um, I'd like to see him, stand in there and kind of figure it out, and I think he will. I think it's just it's a different, guys. It's night and day going from college to the NFL. It really is. But I mean, overall, the Broncos did what they had to do to get the victory. Good God, the special teams on this team is fucking atrocious. So bad. I mean, and the fact that when Sean Payton went back to address it later on this week, and addressed it down almost to the very clerical level, to where he said he's not going to fire the special teams coach. I don't like that, because it's just like, it, either one of two things needs to happen. Either the special teams coach needs to be fired, or, and I think I heard Tyler Columbus say this. He's like, because they asked him straight up, because he's obviously played on the Broncos and played in the NFL, and they go, they asked him straight up, like, does the special team get coached in practice? Does it get coached? And he goes, not really. Blocking really doesn't. Well, one of two things needs to happen. Either the special teams coach needs to be fired, or Sean Payton needs to allocate more time in practice for the special teams to practice on what they're doing, because it's terrible, terrible stuff. I can't count. I mean, a muffed return, so many just like blown coverages on kickoffs. It was bad. It's been bad. The amount of costly mistakes that the special teams has costed the Broncos all season long too. It hasn't been just on Sunday, last Sunday. It's been all season, and it's been bad, really, really bad. The only bright spots on the special teams unit is Jeremy Crawshaw. That's it. Jeremy Crawshaw, Will Lutz have been the only two bright spots on the special teams, and even Will Lutz has missed some field goals here and there, but they've been better than the blocking on the special teams unit has been, and it's just been a goddamn wreck all season long. I hope something straightens out because I'm telling you, our upcoming schedule, guys, we've passed the easy part of it, right? We we've played the easy teams. Now it starts to get really really hard. I mean, our next games, we got the Raiders coming up on Thursday night. They're not really doing so good. Fine. Then next week is right. You got Kansas City at home. Kansas City on the 16th of November, and then you are afforded a bye week after that. Thank God, because the next slew of games is not going to be easy. Some might be easy, but a lot of them are not. At Washington, which you kind of might have dodged a big bullet because it looks like Jaden Daniels is going to be shelved out um, for a good amount of time, possibly done for the season. So you might have dodged a bullet there, but that's a Sunday night game on the road. And then at Vegas for the Raiders, again, not a great team, but then you come home versus Green Bay. They're a tough team versus Jacksonville. They can be a tough team too. They can give you fits. And then Christmas Day against Kansas City on the road, Christmas Day, I guess, night at Kansas City. That's going to be so super tough. And then you close out at home against the Chargers, and you kind of gotten afforded a break too with Joe Alt going down for the Chargers as well. So there's some breaks here, but I'd like to see the Broncos take full advantage and start to ramp up their offense a little bit more as we get deeper into the season because come playoff time, man, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. You may have a legitimate shot this year at winning the AFC West, but and don't get me wrong, 7-2 is a great record right now. Trust me, seven. I'm not. My mind is not lost on the 7-2 record right now, but it needs to be better. You could as you are 7-2, you could easily be, I don't know, 4-3, or I'm sorry, not 4-3. You could be 4-6. No, 4-5. You'd be 4-5, just as much as you are 7-2. It's there's a lot of those games where you squeaked out a victory. I mean, Tennessee, you only put up 20. Like the offensive scoring is my biggest thing. I want to see the Broncos come out on Thursday night here in 2 days because it's Tuesday night when I'm recording this. It'll be 2 days, but I want them to come out. It'll be Wednesday when I release this. I want them to come out tomorrow night on Thursday, and I want them to just absolutely unload on the Raiders offensively. I do. I just think that they need a game like that, like they had against Dallas. I want them to see what they did to Dallas, replicated against the Raiders. And the Raiders are weaker on offense now. They traded away Jacoby Myers today to the Seahawks. So, I mean, they're vulnerable. I mean, yes, I have Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers has been hurt all year. He's dealing with injuries. Ashton Genty is still a rookie. Yes, he is, a hell of a running back, but their offense is going to become very one-dimensional now. I mean, you isolate Bowers and Genty. I mean, there's not much more room for Geno Smith to go. It's week going into week 9 now, and that's when he becomes a pumpkin. I mean, he's been a pumpkin these last few weeks, but he's Geno Smith at the end of the day. So I want the Broncos to really, really, really come out and unload against the Raiders on tomorrow night. They really need this, and they need that momentum heading into that Kansas City game. Yes, and Kansas City is coming off of a bye too. When we get into that game, they're going to be coming off a bye, but the Broncos are going to be kind of on a mini bye because you're afforded a little bit of an extra long week with the Thursday night game. You know, you're afforded 10, 11 days worth of rest versus 7. So I'd say I hope the Broncos take full advantage of that and they just come out and unload on the Raiders on Thursday night. I mean, this game should the Broncos. I want to see them put up 25 to 28 points on the Raiders because that's what you're going to need to beat most teams as you get further into the year and as you get into the playoffs. 21 to 28 points is what you need to win in the NFL any game. And best believe it's going to be what you're going to need to beat Kansas City because Kansas City is they're Kansas City again. They got Rashee Rice, he's off of his suspension. Travis Kelsey's but Patrick Mahomes, all those other receivers, their running game, their defense. I mean, it's a monstrosity right now, and the Broncos need to be very well equipped to deal with that, and they need to come prepared, and they need to use this Raiders game as a tune-up game. I mean, keep in mind though, this Raiders game it could have the proper settings for a trap game, and it could easily go sideways as much as it could go dominantly for the Broncos. But I want the Broncos to come out and really prove it on Thursday night, tomorrow night against the Raiders. Those are my thoughts so far with the Broncos. So we're gonna kind of come off of them. We're gonna go into let's talk some Avalanche here. Let's do it. Let's talk some Avalanche. We're gonna talk some Avalanche. Well, so far we're through I think 15 games in the season for the Avalanche. The Avalanche just on when I'm recording this on Tuesday night, they just got done playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, winning 3-2 over the Lightning. I mean, so far with the Avalanche, I mean, this year it's just you know it's kind of been the same up and down with the Avs. Overall, we're just getting going. We're only 15 games in. They do lead the entire National Hockey League in points with 21 points now, and in first place in the Central Division. I mean, that's not nothing to scoff at, but like early going here in the year, the power play was so like bad for the first 10 to 11 games. It was not great at all. The Avs could not score on the power play to save their lives. And not only just on the power play were they terrible, but they are terrible in overtime still. I mean, they have 5 overtime losses, and they're 0 for 5 in overtime. They went to overtime 5 times and have lost all 5 of them. Yes, it's great to get the extra point, but ultimately, you want to you want to close out those overtime games. You really, really do. I mean, you don't. It's not a good day if you have to. Uh, you can't win in overtime. You got to get a win in overtime. You have to, and you know, eh, but it's been kind of a slow start for the Avs' depth lines, the third and the fourth line. It had been up until tonight. Tonight, the Avs played a full 60 minutes of hockey tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, the 3 goals were Olofsson twice, and then Ross Colton with a goal. I love how the Avs played tonight versus how they played Sunday against the San Jose Sharks because that was bad against San Jose. They looked very sloppy on both sides of the puck. It was very sluggish back and forth. Wedgwood was having a tough time. They went with Wedgwood again tonight in goal, and a lot of people question that because of the Avs' upcoming schedule. Tonight was their one game they have until Saturday. They're in this like weird little stretch here where it's like they have they had a game. I believe it was Saturday, not Sunday. It was Saturday, and then they didn't play again till tonight. So it was like 3 days in a game. They played tonight, and then they don't play for another 4 days because they're going to spend time traveling up to basically Western Canada and doing a mini West Coast run. On Saturday, they got Edmonton. They're at Edmonton and then at Vancouver, and then Tuesday they'll come home versus Anaheim. So it's a little mini West Coast Canada run coming up for the Avalanche. But I mean, tonight was such a solid game for the Avalanche on both sides of the puck. They were very, very puck aggressive, and especially on the defensive side. Jared Bednar was interviewed early in the game tonight, and he basically said, I want a defense first team. I really want to focus on the defensive part of us playing, and the boys responded. They did really good. They responded well by playing well defensively. I mean, Landeskog got in a fight tonight, and it got coming out in the first period. The Avs were flat, pretty flat on both sides of the puck, both offensively and defensively. Just look at absolutely sloppy as hell, and gave up a goal almost right out the gate, and it wasn't really looking good until Landeskog got in that fight, got the boys going, and then they got on the power play back to back, and finally Olofsson scored on the second of the back to back power plays to end the first period. Just really, really solid plays. Devon Taves had himself, he didn't really do much on the scoreboard, and it wouldn't really look much on the stat sheet tonight. But I saw a couple of defensive plays Devon Taves was making, and he had himself an absolute night tonight on defense. Just, poke checking, stick checking, back checking, just really clogging up the slot tonight. There was a lot of that by the entire Avs team, and it was really, really amazing to see. I was really, really appreciative of all that for the Avalanche. Just a great complete 60 minutes of hockey. They're still undefeated in regulation. The Avs are still undefeated in regulation. They have not lost in regulation all season long. So they continue that streak tonight, which is absolutely cool. I really, really appreciated that from the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, this year's Avs team is pretty stacked. I mean, you got Brent Burns on a 1 year deal. Wedgwood, Blackwood are still our two goalies. Blackwood is our main, our number one goalie. Wedgwood is our backup. This is still a really, really good team that's poised to make a cup run. Landeskog came back last year and proved that he's still the same Gabe Landeskog, and he showed that out tonight. And he looked good offensively, defensively, just doing what he does. Getting the boys going, fighting, getting dirty in the corners, just making great, excellent passes. McKinnon is on fire, by the way, so far this season. Nobody's playing like Nate McKinnon, and I can feel at times he gets frustrated because he's the only one busting his ass on the ice, and everybody's just kind of, in that first period, I think Nate got pretty pissed a couple of times at his teammates because you can just see it even in the demeanor in which he skated. And, he's just like, he's swerving around the ice. He's like just absolutely just going and just buzzing around the ice, and the rest of the boys looked flat, and he's like, what the hell is going on? Like, he's like, come on, let's go, let's fucking play. We came here to play against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which, by the way, they still have a lot of those pieces they had from those two back-to-back Stanley Cup teams, and they came to play tonight as well. And I think the Avalanche did a great job responding to the level of the Lightning. The Lightning came out, and they were great defensively. They gunked up a lot of the offensive chances for the Avalanche tonight, and they were really, really a big presence around their net, and really big physically on a big physical presence tonight. And the Avalanche responded to that, to the tune of their level, and it was really great. And it was great by Wedgwood and the defense too, especially Cale Makar took a puck right to the hand, took all of that in a defensive effort in the last 3 minutes when um, the Lightning pulled Vasilevsky, and because Lightning down one, they were going to pull the goalie tonight, and they were going to make one last offensive push, and the Avs knew it, and they were prepared for it. They kept clearing it out of the zone every single time on the PK, and it was just absolute poetry tonight from the Avalanche defensively. I cannot say that enough. I know I said it like 1,000 times, but good fucking god, it was amazing. And then like, props to Ross Colton as well. I mean, he was getting into it a little bit with Chernak, and it was late in the game, and they were kind of pushing and shoving, and I was like, man, you got to cool down because it's 5 minutes left. You cannot take a penalty that late in a 1 goal game. You cannot do that. And send them on the power play with 5 minutes left because Cernak, you can tell, was trying to instigate him to draw a penalty, really, to to like get him to go. So they drew a penalty so they went to the penalty box late, and it ended up being the Lightning who eventually did go to the penalty box a little bit late, and it gave Avalanche did sloppy on that power play, but props to the power play as well tonight. I mean, the 3 out of the 4 power plays were great, and they were 1 for 4 on the power plays. They only scored on one of them, but sometimes you can still see things without it showing up completely on the stat sheet all the time. It just looked better tonight with the offensively, with the fluidity, the passing, the positioning, the getting it in the zone and controlling the puck control. That hadn't been there all season. They had trouble keeping it in the offensive zone on the power play. And it was giving me really like 2016 vibes. It was really bad. I was like, Jesus, we're doing this again. We're acting like it's full strength on a power play, responding defensively. We can't do that. And it just it did well. They did well on the power play tonight. And I know, like I said, 1 for 4, but not all great things show up on the stat sheet. I think they got it down. I think they're working really well through it. I'm really appreciating how Marty Natchez is coming into this team. He's really, really finding, and Victor Olofsson as well. They're both finding their footing and gelling with the offensive line. And like, it's still early, but we're seeing the Avs team come along slowly but surely. You can see the wheels turning. All the boys are getting on the same page. I mean, they could really, really be a unit this year, and really compete for a cup. I mean, that's why you went out and got Victor Olofsson. That's why you went out and got Marty Natchez and Brent Burns to fill out the back end. I mean, the only thing I could say is I'd like those third and fourth lines to step it up a little bit on offense, take a little bit of that pressure off the first two lines. The first two lines is um, they're the ones scoring all the offense, honestly. And Marty Natchez is having himself a hell of a season. He signed an extension with the Avs to be here for 8 more years. We got him locked down. He's really with it, and he didn't really do much tonight. I don't think he even had. Maybe he had an assist. I'm not entirely sure. Let's see. I'm gonna go back here um, to look at the stat sheet of the game. Let's see here. Sorry. There we go. Box score. Absolutely not. We are not doing that. Gonna have to cut that out. Marty Natchez tonight. He was a -1. He had 1 assist tonight, but he 1 assist, 3 shots on net. I mean, stat sheet doesn't really look like he did a lot, but like I said, this Avs team is gelling. They're gelling really, really, really well together, and I really appreciate seeing it all come together. I think Jared Bednar is doing a great job, and they brought over Ron Hackstall to coach on the power play unit. I think he's done a tremendous job. Like a lot of people would say he hasn't because the power play struggled until tonight, but it takes time especially when you got a new coach. He wants to do things different ways, and Bednar has been very transparent about that. It's a different style. It's a different coach. It's a whole different thing. So the boys are gonna have to get used to that, and they are. And it's a good thing they're having this little odd schedule right now. They're getting a few extra days of rest here and there, and I'm really really enjoying it because you kind of need breaks like this. I mean, you're going to get the Olympic break this year for about 3 weeks. You're getting these little breaks here where you're getting playing 3 days, 4 days. Enjoy this now. Rest on it now. I mean, you got a back to back in Canada this weekend, but on the road against the Canucks and the Oilers. But I mean, you got 4 days worth of rest until you get there. That's 4 days and a lot of opportunity to work on a lot of different things for the boys. So I hope they can get in and get with it now. They seem to be rolling really really well. So. But yeah, next game is coming up against on the road against Edmonton Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. Nothing better than that. I mean, the Oilers, I think they've kind of struggled a little bit this year. As they've kind of been off to an iffy start, 6-5-4. They've only put up 16 points this year. They've had a very, very rough start. They've had a very, very rough start to this year, and at this point, kind of almost just feel sorry for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Those guys. McDavid decided to play to stay, and so did Draisaitl, and you know, I mean, McDavid's leading the team in points and assists right now, 21 points, 17 assists, and Draisaitl's leading the team in goals with 10 goals. But I mean, it seems to be just pretty much all them. There's not really any help. So that's what's coming up for and then the Canucks are just, good lord, the Canucks are terrible. I I don't. The Canucks are just. They're the Canucks. I don't even know what to say about the Canucks. I mean, they're 7-7. They're just one spot below Edmonton in the standings with only 14 points. Not great. Not great. So the Avs, best case scenario, they go 2-0. Worst case scenario, I think they go 1-1 this weekend on the road. We will have thoughts on those next Wednesday. We'll review those games. I mean, there'll be, I think, 3 games we'll have to recap. So it'll be pretty recap heavy next next Wednesday, because they'll have a game Tuesday night versus Anaheim, and I'll go on right after that. Yeah, tonight was a TNT broadcast. It was a late game tonight versus the Lightning. Didn't really like that, but it's okay. It is what it is. Those guys are those guys. So that'll be our Avalanche portion. Let's move on to the Denver Nuggets. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets right now. The Nuggets, they had a game last night, which would have been Monday night, um, against the Sacramento Kings, in which they won 130 to 124. Um, the Nuggets come into the season, and it was pretty big offseason for the Nuggets. They let go of Michael Porter Jr. They get rid of that contract, and they trade him for Cam Johnson to the Brooklyn Nets. And somehow they come out with cap space over it as well. Like, one of the most unbelievable trades that you could ever, like, you know, come up with right now, and just it was crazy how that all went down. We were just thought we were doomed in cap hell forever. And then all of a sudden it just comes out that they traded Jamal Murray to the Brooklyn, or I'm sorry, not Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. to the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson, and they offed some of his salary, that contract, and it gave us cap space. Bruce Brown comes back to Denver, so the Nuggets, like, they're also poised to make a championship run. I think, if there's one team in Denver this year that is most likely to win a championship, it's the Denver Nuggets. It really is this year. I mean, and we let go of Michael Malone at the end of last year, and now David Adelman he's taken over to coach of this team, and he seems to be doing absolutely well. I love all the coaches right now, and all the Colorado teams. I love Sean Payton. I love Jared Bednar. I love David Adelman. I don't know who the Rockies manager is going to be, because I don't think they've announced that yet. But um, that's that's a whole different issue. But as far as like the big teams here, um, the 3 big teams here in Colorado, it's just amazing coaches. But yeah, we offload, we offload the Michael Porter Jr. Um, for Cam Johnson, so we're ready to rock and roll here. And the Nuggets, they've they they're 4-2 right now, so 4-2 through 6 games, which it's above 500. It's a pretty good. It's about a 75 winning percentage, 75% winning percentage. But it's just like, I don't even know how to even really describe what the Nuggets season has been so far. It's just been kind of up and down too. I think there's a lot of cohesiveness that needs to happen with the Nuggets right now. It's a lot of cohesive that just needs to keep. It needs to gel. It needs time to gel, right? Cam Johnson, it's a different system for him. Bruce Brown's returning. They got to get that back in the mix. Christian Brown needs to step it up. He's going on year three um, of his career. We're looking to see leaps and bounds. Our bench is great. We got we got Julian Strother. We still got Deron Holmes, which we don't even know what that's going to be because he broke. I think he broke his leg last year in summer league and didn't get to play. Now he's probably not even going to be able to play this year because just the amount of talent that we have on this team now. We got Tim Hardaway Jr. You know, Zeke Najee's still here. Jalen Pickett's good. Julian Strother, Hunter Tyson, and then we got the big addition I was really excited about this year was Jonas Valanciunas to come in and play essentially backup for Nikola Jokic, and so far he's done a really really good job of doing so. He really really has this year. He's played 12 minutes. He's got a 60% field goal percentage, just about 57.9 field goal percentage. you know, four about 4.5 rebounds, 1 assist. You know, eight about 9 points, averaging a game through 6 games. That's what you need. You need somebody to hold the floor when Jokic goes out. We needed that, and I think Valanciunas has done a really good job mostly defensively more so than offensively. And we need that. We need to hold a lead. We just need to hold it so Jokic can get some rest. It's not necessarily needing to add to it, but just hold it right where it's at. I think the Nuggets have had a serious problem with that this year. It's kind of really irritated me a little bit. Just they get to this point. Like I saw it last night against the Kings, and then I saw it on Halloween night versus the Blazers. Like they get to a point to where they get like enamored with a three ball when they're up like 10 or 12, and it's like, guys, we don't need to do this. We don't need to just put up threes when we got a 10-point lead and keep missing shots. It's kind of what led to the Blazers coming back on Halloween night, and almost the Kings crept to within about two last night. And those are contributing factors. It just you you get so enamored with this three ball when you're up big. Just get a bucket. Just get a bucket, keep the pressure on it. Unless you're going against like a Golden State where Steph Curry can get hot from three, or you're going against a team where they have a hot 3-point shooter and the 3-point driven. Just get buckets, man. Just get buckets for Christ's sake. Just get a basket. Keep the pressure on them. Don't you know what I mean? I don't understand why the Nuggets have been doing that this year, and it's been bugging the absolute shit out of me. Because you know they did it against Minnesota too on the 27th of October. Um, but ultimately, they've been putting up at about 130 points every time they win, which is also a good thing. But you know, they won some tight games. You'd like them to put it away more so than they already have. I mean, Jokic has been really steady. He hasn't been like, he hasn't really been putting up a ton of points this year, but like he's been making sure that he's doing what Jokic does best. You know, setting up the play, setting up the basket, getting the ball movement, passing. The IQ of Nikola Jokic is absolutely fucking insane. The amount of basketball IQ this man has. There's just no way to put it into words. This man has a ton of basketball IQ. He really, really does, and it shows out a ton. And he's showing that this year, and he might have like a down year this year statistically, and I'm okay with that. If that means we're spreading around the ball more and we're getting more players involved, and it's not so much on his back all the fucking time, I am completely 100% okay with that because I think that ultimately leads to team success. I really, really do. And, we kicked off the year at Golden State. Aaron Gordon's been solid too, had a 50-point night in the loss and a 6-point loss to Golden State. That kind of sucked. You hated to see that, but it's nice to know that all the big dogs are firing. Jamal Murray came out crazy this year. He was ready to go. he's been having himself. He had a 43-point night against the Timberwolves on October 27th. He's been on fire from 3 points. If there's one person who's been shooting really well from 3 point, it's it's Jamal Murray. It was Aaron Gordon the first couple of games, then he kind of died off. But it was like Jamal Murray and like surprisingly Nikola Jokic has been really solid from three as well. You like to see it. And then defensively, there's a different change to this team defensively. I mean, especially with a standout star like Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson has been an absolute beast defensively for the Nuggets. Offensively, he's still trying to find his groove. Offensively, he typically is like a deep three ball shooter, um, sharpshooter from 3 points. He's a really good outside perimeter shooter. He hasn't really done that all that much this year, but like defensively, his effort has been absolutely insane, and I've more than appreciated it. That's why I haven't been that hard on Cam Johnson, is because he's coming into a new team. He's still gelling. And, I'd rather focus and emphasize on defense than I really rather would offense here. I think the Nuggets are going to get their buckets. They have enough offensive players already that are just so good. I mean, you got Bruce Brown, Nikola Jokic, obviously, Jamal Murray, obviously. Christian Brown's got to step it up a little bit, and he did against Sacramento. He did have he had a pretty damn good night against Sacramento um, on Monday night. He did. I enjoyed what he did against Sacramento. 31 minutes, 70% field goal percentage, amazing. 66% from the line, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 21 points. That's what we need out of Christian Brown. That's what we need out of Christian Brown. Like, I need that. I don't need necessarily 21 points, but I need about, 15 to 18 consistently. We need you to step that up and replace what was Michael Porter Jr. basically offensively. And we're kind of looking for that Cam Johnson, but Christian Brown hasn't done a bad job filling that void as of late for the Nuggets. He's been a solid option for them. I'm just enjoying what I'm seeing out of this Nuggets team. It's a little bit of a slow start, but we got a game coming up tomorrow night. That'd be Wednesday. So when this hits, I guess tonight against the Miami Heat, and the Heat have had a worse start. They're 4-3 about by a game. Um, 4-3, the 2-3 on the road. They haven't done well on the road, so I don't think they got really a ton of big hitter name players on their roster um, as well. I mean, they got Bam Adebayo, uh, Tyler Hero, obviously. Um, they got Nikola Jovic, not Jokovic. But yeah, Andrew Wiggins, Jamar Young, Drew Smith, Terry Rozier, Terry Rozier, Norman Powell. I don't think they have Terry Rozier because Terry Rozier is under investigation from the federal government. But yeah, Myron Gardner, Vladislav Golden, they just Jamie Jacques Jr., Keyshawn Johnson. They just don't really have any big names. They're kind of just a mid to lower mid team. So Nuggets should make pretty fair and light work of them tomorrow night. It shouldn't be too bad. Even though Jamal Murray is listed on the injury report uh, here, he's expected to return tomorrow. He's looks like he's dealing with a little bit of something. But out for the Heat tomorrow are Tyler Hero, Terry Rozier, obviously, and then so that's really kind of it for them. So they're big. The couple of their big hitters. I mean, it should be fairly light work for the Denver Nuggets, is what I'm saying. So that's our. Hopefully, it all comes back. We'll recap that game on the Thursday going into Friday episode. So yeah, let me before we get into the Rockies here, I just kind of want to lay out what it's going to be like for the shows. It's going to be Wednesday, Friday episodes during the season, and then once we go to summer, it's going to be once a week. So just because all the sports are going to be dead and the Rockies are probably not going to be good. But speaking of the Rockies, let's get into the Rockies talk here. Third straight 100 loss season for the Rockies. Not good. Not good at all. Um, it, I mean, it's as dog ass gets, man. It, it's, I don't even know what to say. It was just bad. This is bad. I'm looking. They finished 43 and 119 this year. It's the off season now. Look, I'm not gonna. I mean, we may not be talking about the Rockies for a while on this podcast, just because of the simple fact of CBA expires soon. There could be a looming strike. I don't know what's all going to happen with that. I guess we'll give updates on that for our Rockies segment until the season, if it ever does kick up and it ever does go. We'll talk about all the logistics of that. But the Rockies, I don't even know what to do with this team anymore. Luckily, Dick Monfort has kind of, I don't want to say maybe is he, I don't say he's like relinquishing his kind of control, but they're trying new things. They're trying new things um, with the Rockies. You know, they're trying. They're actually trying for once. And I think people need to give the Rockies a little bit more credit than they have. You know what I mean? Um, so far, they pretty much have fired their their general manager. They're looking for a new general manager right now. They brought in Dick Monfort's son to basically be the general manager of this team. You know, so I think they've done a decent job of somewhat sort of trying. Okay, and let me say this just up front, just to all these people, because the big thing is the big thing for this team, and the point of contingency for a lot of the fan base for the Rockies and small market teams like the Rockies, the big hot topic is obviously the salary cap coming up for the upcoming baseball season. And a lot of people want a salary. The people who want the salary cap, they want it. They want it because they think it'll make small market teams like the Rockies be more competitive. I'm just going to say this right now. I'm just going to address it. A salary cap is not going to make the Rockies more competitive, and I'll tell you why. Here's the number one reason, and it's been the number one reason that has hindered the Rockies for all 33 years of their existence. It's the fact that no pitcher, the salary cap is not going to fix the fact that no pitcher wants to come to Denver, Colorado at altitude and pitch at altitude. Not one. It's just they don't want to. And the Rockies tried in the early 2000s with Mike Hampton and Denny Nagel to bring in solid pitchers to overpay them to come to Denver to play. I think we need to readapt a little bit of that mentality and try that again. um, I think much like how it traumatized John Elway to draft quality quarterbacks when he drafted Trevor Simeon and Paxton Lynch and that whole line of debacles and Brock Osweiler. I think Mike Hampton and Denny Nagel broke the Rockies. It didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. Mike Hampton got hurt. Denny Nagel got caught up in some some ladies of the night, shall we say, issues, and kind of faded out of that. And I think that really traumatized Dick Monfort in a way. And it's just he's never done it since. And in 07, Rockies got lucky. It was kind of like a major league type team. The team that was put together wasn't supposed to win, but won everything but the World Series. And it's just we're at a tipping point with this team and the fan base. The fan base has made it very clear that they do not like the way the direction of this team is going. And I think maybe either Dick Monfort is just getting tired of hearing it, or he's actually listening. It's one of the two. Because he put his son pretty much in charge of baseball operations. They pretty much fired everybody in the front office, and they're going to bring in a full new front office. So, um, you know, the Chris Bryant thing is a fucking nightmare. Um, looks like they've declined Tyro Estrada's $7 million option for the 2026 season. I think they're kind of moving away from what they were. I'm hoping I and the whole entire Rockies fan base is hoping and praying that they move away from what they were, because what they were, with the exception of 2007, so for the last 32 years, um I can't say that, because from the conception of the Rockies till about 2004 was pretty damn good. We just didn't have the pitching. And then right around '06 to '09 was still pretty good. And then it got kind of good around 2017 again. But for the majority of those years, I mean, you've only made in 33 years, you've only made the postseason 4 times, 3 times, excuse me, 3 times, 3 or 4 times. It's one of the two. And that's not good. That's not good. You have one World Series appearance in 33 years. Um, I I don't know what I can say that hasn't already been said about this team for the last 33 years, other than we need to figure this out, boys. We need to figure this out and really, really get back to what it is. Bill Schmidt gets fired on October 1st. We're searching for a new general manager for this team, new front office, really, for this team. And I really hope the Rockies can turn it around, because Coors Field is so fucking amazing. I love that ballpark. I've loved that ballpark ever since it opened, and I went to it when it opened. It's been a gem for for the whole time it's existed. Since the very day it opened in 1995, it's been a fucking gem of Major League Baseball, and it continues to be that way. But I hope that the Monforts can actually give a reason for the Rockies fans to show up, other than nice beer and a great sunset and a party deck. I hope they can actually make the fans show up, make the fans that show up pay attention to the field rather than everything else in the stadium. And I really do, because I don't think the Rockies are going to be like the Dodgers and buy a world championship. But I remember that run in '07, and how like underdog we were, and how like we were just kind of these, just a bunch of guys, wasn't really any really big names except for Todd Helton and Matt Holliday, obviously. But other than that, it was just a bunch of guys: Kaz Matsui, Jamie Carroll, Brad Hopp, Garrett Atkins, Chris Iannetta, just dudes you didn't really, they weren't really going to show up as Star Wars players on the stat sheet, but they were players. They played, man. And I think the Rockies can really build around that. And it's been kind of my opinion, you know, for the last, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I think the Rockies should um take all their whole minor league system and completely in-house it in Colorado. I think that might be the best strategy to truly acclimate a pitcher to pitching at altitude. Yes, I know half their road games are at sea level and you still got to pitch at sea level, but if you can get 2 to 3 solid pitchers at altitude, I mean, the Rockies could do some damage. We're going to compete with the Dodgers? Probably not. But I mean, you saw what the Dodgers did in the World Series. You know, the 2 to 3 solid starters, solid bullpen, won them a World Series, won them back-to-back World Series. I think I think the Rockies could learn a little bit from that. Which, by the way, World Series ended. It was one hell of a Game 7 between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers. I can't believe I have to say this, but congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on winning the 2025 World Series. Okay. Ugh. I almost wanted to fucking vomit saying that. But it's indeed a fact. I have to accept it. They are the 2025 World Champions. And somebody needs to put a stop to that. Blue Jays almost did. If there was anybody who was going to put a stop to it, it was going to be Toronto. But I'm tired of this being the Dodgers world and we're all just living in it. The deferred money kind of sucks. But, it is what it is. I mean, that's just going to be big market teams. They're always going to be that way, whether there's the cap or not. They'll find a way to loophole it somehow. Those are just never going to stop. I much would rather the Rockies be that gritty Colorado blue collar team that a lot of Colorado teams are, where we're just, we have one superstar, maybe two. The rest are all just a bunch of dudes who just fucking play. That's been the mantra of Colorado sports for like a long time. That's been the mantra of Colorado. I feel we were just hardworking people, blue collar people in this town that for a lot of years nobody wanted anything to do with. It was a flyover town. Denver was for the longest time. We took pride in that. When it was just the Broncos and the Nuggets, we took pride in having one good player or two, and then the rest were just hard-nosed, gritty dudes who just played their asses off, game in and game out. I think there's something to be said for that, and I hope that tradition continues. I hope the Rockies can adapt that as well. I really do. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that seems to be about my time. Let's finish it up here with a little bit of futures bets, shall we? Let's do some futures bets. I honestly play Underdog Fantasy. So for the game coming up on Wednesday, October 5th, Nuggets and Heat. One popular pick I like, Nikola Jokic, 25.5 points. I'm gonna go higher than that. Go higher on that. That's a pretty good pick, I feel. And then let's look at the head for the Thursday night game against the Broncos. Let's see what they have. Bo Nix, 221.5 yards. I'm actually going to go lower on that for Bo Nix. J.K. Dobbins, 70.5 rushing yards. I'm going to say higher. I'm going to say the Broncos grinded out against the Raiders because that's what the Jaguars did. I think they go pretty run heavy on that. So those are a couple of upcoming bets. Just for the couple of games, if you like to play Underdog Fantasy, I don't know. I play it a lot. I think it's great. They don't sponsor me or anything, but if you like to hear a little bet action or whatnot, I like that. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Jeremy Case, and this is Case by Case Sports Show. Thank you for joining me. We will see you guys in about 2 days. On Friday, we'll be recapping the Broncos. We'll be recapping the Nuggets, and we'll be looking forward to the heavy hockey weekend and basketball weekend that we got coming up. No Broncos on Sunday, but Nuggets and Avs will be doing their thing. You can follow me on TikTok, case.by.case.show on TikTok. You can follow me on Twitter, Case by Case Sports Show X, whatever the fuck you call it. Also subscribe here on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, Case by Case Sports Show on YouTube as well. We'll see you in a couple days. I'm out of here.